is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have a Miele Incognito dishwasher that is filling fine. It drains fine, starts the cycle really good, but at a certain point, once it fills, it's supposed to circulate the water. You can hear the circulation motor kick in, but it runs for about maybe 10 seconds, and then there's about a 10-second pause with no action, then 10 more seconds, 10-second pause. That repeats, I think, about 6 times, and then you get the intake drain light coming on. So probably what's going on is that the circulation motor has this run capacitor, and it helps it to have the right amount of power all the time. But when these get weak over time, probably takes about 10 years before these would fail. You don't get a very good run anymore, and you really just can't clean the dishes because you're only getting about 10 seconds, and then finally it just gives up. So today we're just going to cover how to get the dishwasher out and how to easily put one of these capacitors in. This one's actually not a Miele capacitor. This is just an aftermarket one. They're pretty cheap. You're just trying to get one that has the value that's important is the 14 UF, and then the voltage could be anything. If you're in Europe, it'd have to be like up to 240. Here in the United States, just up to about 150 would be fine. There'll be a number that talks about the voltage. This one says up to 280 volts AC and 14 UF. So the 14 UF is really what you're shooting for, and they're pretty cheap. I wanted to get the Miele one, but Miele no longer makes it for this pretty old dishwasher. This is an Incognito, and they don't carry it anymore. So we're gonna be putting the aftermarket one in. It'll work fine. The other thing that could be happening is there could be some kind of a blockage. Something might have got pulled down past the triple filter. The symptom we're seeing with the F08 is it starts and runs after it fills, and you can hear the circulation motor go for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then there's a pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then you hear the motor again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It just keeps going once again up to 10 seconds, and then you get another pause again for 10 seconds. So the circulation motor shouldn't do that. It should start going, and then it should just run for quite a while before there's a pause. So this is an indication of the F08. Point toward maybe the heater pressure switch being defective. And when that happens, there's not enough water pressure built up, and then the pump will run, circulation pump will run for a little bit, and then it'll turn off, run for a little bit, and turn off. And it could be a couple things causing that. One is the water level. The water, it's not enough water, it can't create the pressure. So this water level is good though. It's up to the bottom of this white plastic filter handle. That's good. It could also be the capacitor on the circulation pump's getting weak, it can't create enough pressure. I'm going to get out of the diagnostic. I'll just turn it off. And it's probably this heater pressure switch is not working. So it's not able to tell the computer that there's enough circulation pressure. So the symptoms are you get an F08, you get that blinking intake drain light. Your symptom would be it'll circulate for about 10 seconds, then it'll cut out for about 10 seconds, circulate for 10, cut out for 10. Probably about 10 times it'll try that, and finally it'll give you the error. It's just thinking that it's not creating enough pressure. This could be the problem. Not enough water could be the problem. This one has plenty of water. Could be the circulation pump itself is just getting too tired and can't pump with enough pressure. Let's try this one, see if that does the trick. I want to get the water out of there first, so I'm going to turn it on, pick a new cycle, and I'll close it. That should drain the water. Once I hear the draining stop, I want to open the door, stop the cycle, and then get out any remaining water that I can see in there. What you do is you press the 2 and 3 at the same time, you push those in, now turn it on. You'll get these two lights blinking, and now press the number 5, the blinking one. Now press the number 1, blinking, and you don't get any of these going, so it's not an F0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you press 6 to see if it might be one of the other ones, and it's coming in as an F05. So you get this blinking light here, the main operation light, the bigger red light, and you get the small intake drain light blinking. And that means something's gone wrong during the cycle. And that test we just showed would help you to figure out which error it is. In this case, one thing you could check too is the water level. The water level should reach up to the bottom of this white plastic filter handle, and it does. So we know that it is filling with the right amount of water. If it doesn't get enough water, it can cause an F08. So first thing, we're just going to get the dishes out of here because it happened while the cycle was going. So we'll remove this one, and I'll either just get these utensils out or remove this tray. So this one's easy. You don't really have to remove the dishes. You can just lift it up. Don't hurt your back. Use your legs. Get that out of there. So the middle one, you can pull it out, and then you can tilt it up so it comes out of here. Tilt it up, pull it toward me a little bit. I can tilt it up on the back, off the back wheels too. Get it out of here. There we go. Get that out. The upper one comes out. So to get this one off, you just have these little plastic things you can push down, and then you can get it out like that. There's one on the other side. Push down. And you just can pull this one out. Now you've got nothing in there, which is good. So now I want to empty this one, so I'll remove the triple filter, and then you'll have some water in there. This one has a fair amount, but usually it's up to about here. You can just use a cup to get that out. Then at a certain point you can use a turkey baster to just suck out the remaining maybe a couple inches that are left. Got a lot of that water out with the cup and the turkey baster. You may just want to use a little washcloth to get any out, or a sponge to soak up anything that's left. And also, while we're here, let's go ahead and check this one-way non-return valve. You can use a standard head screwdriver to push that off. I'm going to lift up on this. They just get kind of stuck because they don't get moved for years and years. So it was inside there like that. Pried it up, and inside you're going to find that ball bearing, and ball bearing should be able to sit down nice and flat like that. Looks good. Sometimes you get like a seed or something caught in there. It won't sit down, and then water after it drains will flow back into your dishwasher. So it's important that thing's nice and clean. You can also check your drain impeller right here, and you should be able to turn it by moving your finger. Should be a little bit of resistance, and then it should be gives up. No resistance and gives up. That's good. If it won't move well, there might be something caught underneath it, and you usually can pull it out with some small needle nose pliers. It looks pretty good. So we're going to put that one-way valve back in. So to put it in, you're just going to push it into that black seal, push it back in, push it down. Once it's in there, we can put that, there we go. It's set nice and flat. We can put this back on, pull it till it clicks. Got it. Get a little more water out of there. The reason you want to get the water out is we're going to turn it on its side later. We don't want the water to come gushing out. So now you're going to find either some screws that go up to screw it into the cabinet, or maybe the screws are going from the side. This one has a couple on the side. We're going to get those screws out. These are just Phillips head. Sometimes they're the Torx 15 bits to get them out. Okay. So at the bottom, you might have some kind of a thing in the way here. And then we just got to get these little feet up on over the counter right here. So to help us get over this, I got a paint scraper like a ramp. I'm going to lift up the dishwasher a little bit and get this underneath, and that'll help me to slide it up over. I'm just going to unplug the dishwasher, turn off the water, go into the dishwasher. We're going to undo this connection so this drain pipe is free and clear. Just loosening up that hose clamp. We should be able to get this one off. Kind of twist it, wiggle it, come off. So we're getting it out here away from the cabinet. We'll turn it on its side, and I think we have enough room to do everything. They usually give you a lot of extra drain hose, power cord, and fill hose so you can get it out of the cabinet. Set it on its side. I'll just put my foot here to act as a brake, and then I'll pull on the top, get it to tilt. Just going to watch these hoses, make sure they don't get stressed. Lay it on its side slowly. Take your time, don't hurt your back. Okay, now we can remove the bottom panel. Let's get these little legs off. Pull them off and get them off to the side. And then we just have to remove 1, 2, 3, 4 screws so we can get to the bottom here. Alright, so we're going to use Phillips head screwdriver to get these screws out. Sometimes they're Torx 15. In this model there's just these 4. On other models sometimes there's a couple in the front that you have to take out too. Okay, so get those out. We're going to grab these little feet, pull this toward us. Comes out. So here's the circulation motor, and this has 2 capacitors. There's one that's like a filter. They call it a noise filter, a line filter. And it has another one that's used to give power to the circulation motor. So we're just going to use a crescent wrench to undo that nut for the capacitor. Spin that off. Push it in. So before we take out the capacitor, I'd like you to discharge any voltage that might still be held in there. It's kind of like a large battery. We can see there's a terminal here, terminal here. So you just want to make sure you have something plastic or rubber. Don't hold the metal. You're going to bridge those 2 spade connectors, and that'll get rid of the voltage. So I'm going to get this capacitor out of here. Spade connector off of that capacitor. Get one off. It's another spade connector. Just using the standard head screwdriver to pry it off. Okay, I got those wires loose. Those are the ones that are going to bring power to the circulation motor. You can get those out toward us. These two guys, this is where the capacitor is going to be hooked up to, these two. There's the old capacitor, which is no longer hooked up. And let's see if we can get it out of there. This one I think was an aftermarket, so it's a little bit bigger. Get it out. There we go. So we want to put something here to discharge it. Okay, still want to be careful. I don't think it'd be good to touch these. And it looks a little burned up right here. Maybe that's why it stopped working. So we're going to replace that one with a new one. But before we do that, if you wanted to do that, you just hook up your capacitor. So you just want to put one of these onto one terminal, one onto the other. It doesn't matter which, just has to be one on this side, one on this side. And then we're going to get this out of the way. So this one doesn't have a mounting bolt. We have to find some way to keep this still. And we don't want it to be floating around because we don't want these things to be touching anything metal. So we do have to isolate it. Probably use just a zip tie to get it zipped into this position. Before I do that though, I want to remove that circulation motor. To remove this circulation motor, we want to get some of the pipes off, right? So we're going to take this hose clamp off right here. Just kind of move it back. Probably going to be water in some of these hoses when you get them off, so be aware of that. Some water might come out. You get a hose here we want to get off. There we go. I'll take off the power connectors, so we're going to get these guys off. There's one. Two. So we got the power connectors off. We've got this hose loose. We've got this hose loose. So next up, we have to get our heater pressure switch loose. So this part is your heater pressure switch. I'm going to take off its electrical connector. So you have a green one here as your ground connector. Get that one off. Pull up on that one. Pinch in on this one to get it off. Wiggle it back. Push in on that tab there. Get that one to come out. I'm going to pull back and I'm going to twist up toward me. Get out the old one. Put in the new one. I'm going to come in at an angle, then twist it down to lock it in. Alright, that one's in, good. Go ahead and put the connector back on. Okay, that's in nice and tight. Put the ground connector back on. Got it. Okay, that's the new heater pressure switch. Here's the old one. I'll get the wires off. Take it out with me. get off this ground wire, and then there's a connector back here. I'm going to pinch, pull back on it. There we go. So I think we've got all of our connections off. This big hose off. Might get a little water coming out here. No, looks fine. When you get these hoses off, take a look inside. Just make sure there's nothing obviously caught in there. These look good, look nice and clean. So we have a Torx 15 screw we got to get out right here in the back. So I just loosen that with my crescent wrench. Get that screw out. That's screwed into the back. This is holding circulation motor in place. And then once you get that out, you're just going to use like a diagonal 45-degree coming out towards you, and you can get the pump out. And sometimes you'll find there's something caught in the vanes of the circulation pump. We'll see on this one. Okay, that's out. So we're going to use standard head screwdriver to wedge in between the metal here and this plastic bushing. That helps to get it going, and then you grab it, pull it towards you. See how it's coming loose? It's going to come out of a boot here and a rubber boot here and a rubber boot here. Come toward me. Okay, there's our circulation motor, and there is the impeller. I'm just going to take this part off and take a look inside there. We'll go ahead and clean up this motor while we got it out too. So while you're here, you could take a look inside here. It's nice and clear. Make sure everything's clear inside here. Looks good. Just don't want anything to be stuck in the apparatus. I think we're good. So we're just going to check inside the motor. I'm sorry, inside the impeller. So just going to get a couple of Torx 15s. Get this off. By the way, sometimes your dishwasher will have a leaking problem where it drains all the time. You might find, if you look underneath it, water is leaking out of this weep hole. If that's true, it's easy to fix. You just need to get something called a partition kit. Basically give some new rubber seals. Easy to fix, pretty cheap. This one's fine though. We don't see any evidence of any kind of leak. It looks really dry inside. Zip out these guys. One more screw. We got 4 of these. There we go. Okay, so we just are interested in these things. These are the vanes that push the water around. We just don't want to see a bunch of crud caught in there. These look good. Yeah, I think that's fine. Nothing's caught in here. So, looking great. Over time, you can get a situation where your circulation motor wears out. It's an inductive motor, so it takes a long time. These are great motors invented by Nikola Tesla. But copper degrades over time. It has creates less of a magnetic field, so it creates less ability to spin the motor. So it is possible that an inductive motor can wear out, but boy, I think it would be, maybe over 20 years. So usually what wears out is this little guy, the capacitor. So probably that's what's going on. Another thing to be cautious or cognizant of is the heater pressure switch, which is this little guy right here. This is a pretty new one. I think it's only about 2 years old. But when they wear out, they can create some weird problems where like it fills, then drains, and fills and drains, and it just won't really fill correctly. And usually that's a problem with this guy right here. When it tries to create pressure, because there's a tear in this diaphragm, it's not able to send the right signal to the controller. So then it won't progress. It'll just keep trying to fill over and over. So I think we're just dealing with a bad capacitor. So I'm just going to clean things up a little bit. Okay, while I have this open, I'm going to use a little bit of this contact cleaner. This just helps if you have a wet connection or some oxidation. So I'm going to spray a little bit into these. These go onto the circulation motor, bring power. Spray a little bit on this one. This one goes into the heater pressure switch. Spray a little bit on the heater pressure switch. Spray a little bit on the female side of these contacts on the circulation motor. A little bit in here. On the coils. Spin it around a little bit. Alright, let's go and put it back together. So just pulling out this O-ring right here. Got a little bit of detergent on it. I'll wipe that off so it just will create a better watertight seal if it's nice and clean and nice and dry. That's the O-ring. Put it back into its channel. There we go. Okay, we're going to put this piece back in. And this is the impeller cover. It only can go one way. Can't get it wrong. Alright, that fits in nice. We'll add the screws to tighten it down. Okay. Okay, got it back on tight. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the circulation motor back in, kind of backwards of how we took it out. So this one's got to go in here, and this one's got to go in here. Go try to clean up this little rubber seal while I got a chance here. It's just got some accumulated detergent on it. Okay. So that one goes there, that one goes there. We're going to go in at an angle initially. Kind of feed them into those rubber boots. Push back on this metal frame. So I'm kind of pushing the metal frame away from me. Get it in. Get over that ridge. Make sure these are lined up good. Okay, we're doing good. We're getting in there. I'm going to seat this little white bushing. There's a couple holes it clicks into. There we go. check this boot looks good, this boot looks good. Okay, that's cool. We're gonna go ahead and put this screw back in. That holds circulation motor in position. So we got that one tight. Bring this hose back on to the circulation motor here. I'm gonna, this hose, before we put that hose on, we're gonna put this connector back onto the heater pressure switch. Get that clicked in, so it only goes in one way. The little thumb thing is going to be facing you. It's about right in the middle. And you're going to put on this ground connector here. Go ahead and put on this one back up top. And we have to put on the hose clamps. We're going to do this connector here for the circulation pump. And there's a blue one right next to it. Make sure they're all the way in. Put the ground connector back onto its spade connector. Sure it's all the way on. So those are all in there nice and tight. You gotta tighten up these two. Okay, there comes the hose clamp. It's back on. Second hose clamp. Okay, that one's back on. There we go. Okay, now we just want to kind of get this isolated so it's not going to be moving around. Right in about here. Okay, let's start the zip tie. Feed this guy into it. I'm just trying to get these away from where they could touch any kind of metal. Okay, that's good. It's back in there. Okay, so we have new capacitor in. Everything looked good in here. Just checking, making sure all of our connections are there. Hoses are back. Looks good. Power, ground connectors. Okay, we'll put the bottom panel back on. Just so you know, this is the drain pump right here. Easy to just spin this out if you ever have to replace it, but it's rare that you'd have to replace it. There's our pressure sensor, helps the dishwasher know the water level. There's the salt tank. This one can be used to make the dishwasher just circulate on the upper arm. Heater pressure switch. That's the fan that will help dry at the end. If your dishwasher ever fills with too much water, it'll come down this tube and it'll end up in the drip tray. Some of these drip trays have evidence of being full of water for some reason. Like this one, can tell had dirty water detergent because it has the residue. And what else? Let's see. You have solenoids that control the salt water release for hard water. That again is a line filter capacitor. That's the temperature sensor. Sometimes people push the silver button inside the sump. That thing comes out, you can just push it back in. And that's pretty good. We'll go and put it back together. If you ever mixed up like on which side goes in first, you look at this round float. And sometimes there's a depression where that round float would be sitting, so that helps you to guide you. Kind of getting it in above that white panel. Feed it in. Line up the holes. Make sure it's in there good. Get the bottom panel back on. We're going to get it back on its feet. I'm going to put these little guys back on. The screw thing should be pointed toward the front. These help your dishwasher to slide in a little bit easier, slide in and out. And also, it's a cool way for you to spin this, and that can raise up or lower your back feet. Pretty cool design. Okay, let's get it back on its feet. All right, got it plugged back in. Everything's hooked up. Water's turned back on. And we're just going to give it a little test before we put it back in the dishwasher. I mean, in the cabinet. So we'll turn it on. Give it a number 3, and put the triple filter back in. So you can pick any cycle that you like. We're just going to see if it'll fill and circulate the water. Here's the drain function. Okay, now we can hear fill. You can hear the water shooting in. That's from the fill valve back there is activated, shooting water into the dishwasher. And then it should circulate. You just listen. Getting a little circulation already, you can hear it. So before it would circulate for about 10 seconds and then cut out, rest, 10 more seconds, cut out, rest. But I think it's continually circulating now. As it fills with more water, we should hear it shooting around even more and more. There we go. Here's some water. There we go. Okay, then you hear it stop. Let's see if it's doing the same thing it was before. Still filling with water. I think that's normal for it to circulate. Then it turns off the circulation motor, fills with more water to the capacity right below the handle of the triple filter, and then it'll circulate again. So now the circulation pump's been going continuously for about 4 or 5 minutes. So I think that changing out this part, the heater pressure switch, did the trick. Thanks so much for watching our video, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance and hit the bell icon so we can send you new videos each week. Thanks again.